All right, this is me documenting my journey. I've got, just to let everyone know, I've got tons of these snails outside. I mean, an endless supply of these garden type snails. And I've just seen that if you cook them right, and I'm not cooking them for me, but I'm cooking them for my Tegu, my baby Tegu, and he loves snails. I've had him outside before, walking in the grass, and he sees these things and he goes right after them. And I've actually kind of made the mistake, or made the bad judgment call and let him eat one, because these snails apparently can have parasites. It's not super common here in like Dallas, Texas, compared to maybe the wilderness, but I don't want to take that risk, and I did that one time, and they carry parasites, and one parasite in particular, which is not good for reptiles and animals to get. Dogs can get it, cats, foxes, raccoons can get these if they feast on snails. But so I've collected about 15 of these, and a bunch of them died. And I've been washing them, and I've kept them for 3 days so that they cleaned out their palates and their systems, and they've pooped, and so you have to wash them and let them hang out and wash them, and some of them just haven't made it, and usually they just. I've also fed them cornmeal, like in one of the videos it recommended. So these 4 are the ones that are left. And I'm going to boil them in water. It says if you boil these for 2 to 5 minutes at 165 plus degrees, that you will kill the bacteria. And then the question becomes, will he be interested in them once they're cooked or heated up? I'm not going to cook them and saute them and stuff like what humans do, but I'm going to have to cook them and get them up to 170 plus degrees, and then let them sit in there. So they're going to cook to a degree. But so just documenting this journey that I've got going on. So and this is kind of what I've kept them in a container like this, and let them wash them and let them breathe. And I put some holes in the top. So all right, so the next step is putting them in the boiling water. So I've got didn't want to use a good cooking saucepan or something, so I had this pan, which is a Kaplan, which I got for free. So it is boiling water, and here's my thermometer. That's my timer going off. So it says it's close to 200 degrees. Hopefully you can see that. Hopefully my finger's going to get it to focus, make sure. I can't tell. But yeah, so I'm going to drop those in there and cook them for, maybe 5 minutes. So here we go. It's over 200 degrees. Turn it down just a hair. So I'm going to set my timer for 5 minutes. Next will be to let them finish, cool them off, and then crack them open and see what they look like, and then maybe let the Tegu look at one and see if he's interested. Alright, timer's up, 5 minutes. There they are, they've cooked in there. Now I'm going to crack them open. Here we go. I've peeled 2 of them, and I'm going to just show you real quick how I do it. wash them off. Got some like shears, crack them open. And that's what we're left with. Just putting them in a little container right here. Gonna make a judgment call if I want to just cook them a little bit more. Definitely don't want to make my tegu sick with parasites. But I mean, online shows that if you cook them for 2 minutes or more at 165 degrees, that will kill the parasites. Or you can freeze them solid for 24 hours. But I don't like to necessarily freeze stuff, because then you got to let them thaw out for another 10 hours. And then the meat can just, as it's thawing out, I just don't like to leave, meat or tissue sitting out. I just don't think that's a real good idea, even if it's frozen and it's thawing out. So this is, I guess, the best attempt that I'm going to do. So I'm going to crack this one. People eat these, this is the way they prepare them. As long as you cook them, it should kill the bacteria, or kill the parasites and bacteria. And that's what you do when you boil water. Just kind of a life experience here. I would never eat snails myself, but man, my tegu seems to really enjoy snails. And then there are reports, backing this up, that in the wild, in their native land, they eat snails. That is part of the food that they eat. And I guess in the wild, while they're not recommended to buy wild, or keep, or try to tame wild reptiles, because of the parasites that they get, which shortens their life and makes ownership more difficult. But they love snails. In the shells, they crunch the shells, break the shells, and then get to the inner part of the snail. So I'm doing my best. I think it's going to work out. We'll see. I may just boil these a little bit more. Put the shells in a little container. Okay, here I'm boiling them for another 5 minutes at be close to 190, 200 degrees for 5 minutes. So there's the meat, snail meat. All right, here's the time of the hour. Let's see if my labor's paid off. Oh yeah, he's gonna get it. There you go, buddy. Don't get my hand. He ate the snail, so cook snail. This is just to give him a variety of different food, and a little bit of different nutrients. Just switch things up, enrichment. Now he's going bonkers. But yeah, just different food, just so it's not so boring and bland. That's my goal. with, looking for different alternative sources of food. But there we go. All right, everybody, I just wanted to add a little bit more. Doing this research and doing this, I don't eat snails, never have eaten snails, don't want to eat snails, but I just thought, some of these things that I do, are kind of wacky, but, life experiences, and it's a new experience to me. So also, too, while doing the research, trying to find out, if I could feed these snails to my reptile, I came across a lot of things that kind of opened up my eyes a little bit more, and it has to do with all our animals, and it comes down to that outside a lot of things have parasites, and I didn't think about that, but our dogs outside, all kinds of parasites. They eat a flea, they get worms in their stool. Roundworms, hookworms. I can't even tell you all the things that dogs get. And then, they get bit by a mosquito and they get heartworms. Those are all parasites. And so also, I found out, that these snails, I got tons of snails in the backyard. They are everywhere. And especially when in more of the rain that we get, they're everywhere. And I found out that dogs tend to sometimes eat snails. And these snails have, garden snails, or I don't know, the wide variety of snails, will get parasites. And I won't go into how they get the parasites, but they transmit the parasites to the other creatures that eat the snails. And a lot of things eat snails. And so dogs can eat snails. And then I even found out, too, that the trail that the snail leaves, what we call the snail trail, even though it dries up, that'll also have the parasite in it, and dogs will sometimes lick the concrete or a wall, and that'll transmit the parasite to the dog too. Also, Marshall sits out in a dog pool, and when it rains more and when they're more active, they get into his pool and they die in the bottom, or they live in the bottom, I don't know, but they're in there. And so he gets in there, he drinks from that, he bathes in that, he does everything in there. So obviously, his mouth is involved in that. And so, it's scary. It opened up the world for me to be a little bit more worried about things. But and then also too, it reminded me of when I had Jordan, my black lab, from years and years and years ago, 20 years ago. He would go out when I lived in Plano, Allen, and eat. There were large fields at that time. 20 years ago or something, where we had the large fields out there, and so the locusts and the big grasshoppers would swarm in there, and so they were all over the plants. And I would let Jordan out, and Jordan would run out and feast on these things. Ferociously feast, crunch. Oh, it was so gross. But grasshoppers and locusts, our locusts that make those noises all summer long, those have parasites in them too. So dogs eat those, and like I said, Jordan would eat those locusts, and they can pass those on very, very easily to our animals. So it just kind of opened up my eyes. I just wanted to pass this along. Everything outside is gonna potentially have parasites, and so the birds, the squirrels that eat the crickets, the worms, and the frogs, and everything that feast on all these insects, a lot of these insects have parasites. And so also very big reason why they say not to buy reptiles that are caught out in the wild, because the parasites will shorten their lives, cause more problems, vet bills, vet visits, early death. And so the reason why you want to buy captive bred is because they're not filled with all these parasites from eating all these little insects and different animals out in the wild. So I just thought this would be informative, and I like making videos. So anyways, I'll let the video end, and I'll catch you on another video. Bye-bye.